Hello everyone to another week of VCS play. We have hit week 5. It's finally getting to a point where every series matters. That's even more exciting than before. I'm Yulwei, your usual color caster, and with me as always every day. How are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Keen to get into another week of VCS action. It's been too long.
Yeah. And the first series of the day will be Cerberus against Loki, two struggling teams actually. If you look at the standings, doesn't really look like Loki is struggling, but they come off a 0-4 week if you look at game score. Actually won less games than Cerberus, so
Yep.
Cerberus with a little bit of a psychological advantage maybe into this series. We still expect Loki to win, right?
Of course. Yeah, no question. But I mean, if they were ever going to lose to Cerberus, this is the kind of form they'd have to be in to do it. They didn't look good last week. They looked very, very average. So if they do that again and Cerberus plays at their peak, who knows? You know?
Yeah, in
Gonna have
fact,
to see if they can possibly get across.
yeah, I mean, Cerberus had one very good game last week. They actually blew Flash completely away in the first game. That being said, Flash has been struggling in first games a few times now, so maybe not the most indicative thing ever. I think Cerberus showed a little bit of improvement still, so we might see them be a little bit more competitive in this week. It's still probably too late for them to make a push for playoffs. They only play 6 more series, so even if they win all 6 of them, they could only go up to 7-7, which is
It's not
probably
really
not
good enough.
enough to reach playoffs. So, they
Yeah,
are only
especially with how much of a scrimmage there is around the playoff spots at the moment. They're gonna have much worse game score. It's not likely, but they can still possibly pull themselves out of relegation.
yeah, maybe. I mean, even that is pretty hard right now. As we
Yeah.
look
Oh yeah.
in the at the first champion select, and we are still on patch 9.13. I have heard different things. Some said we were going to hit 9.14. No official statement was hitting us. So still 9.13, a little bit behind. Gives the teams one more week to adapt to the changes. Maybe a good thing because we have seen VCS teams be a little bit slow at adapting.
I mean, yeah, you can say that again. A little bit slow is a bit of the understatement of the century. Incredibly slow to update lots of things in their playbooks. It's interesting. We see a lot of the time the coaches do just have notebooks. I'm pretty sure they're reading off stone tablets back at the team house because that's the only reason I can think of that it's actually taking so long. But as I rag on them, there's an adaptation. Kiana banned out.
Interesting. On the side of Loki, so they want to avoid the weird shenanigans they are not too familiar with. Uh, want to make this game more about standard League of Legends. Against Cerberus, that's probably a good call. He'll probably win most of the standard games against Cerberus, so I like this ban. I'm not sure if Cerberus is capable of playing a good Kiana, but you don't want
Yano
to risk
played
it,
it.
right?
Yeah, I mean Yano did play it, right? Am I misremembering?
No, I don't think he has played a Kiana game yet. If
I might be misremembering. I think Kiana's quite strong, so it kind of is a good band in two ways. In that it's a bit of a tier list band, but it's also, as you said, if you're low key, you just want to play a really standard game. Because if you just play super standard against Cerberus, you'll win 9 times out of 10. Cerberus wins by throwing curveballs here.
Yep.
But so far, this draft is looking like it's a pitch straight down the middle.
Yeah, and
It's all pretty
if you
normal.
wondered if the graphic was correct about 9.13, now it's confirmed because this is Lux and Tom Kench in the bot lane. That will not happen too often anymore. The next patch, Lux got hit very hard, especially support Lux, and TK was basically murdered. Even though we still saw him picked up in the LCK on 9.14, but that's the LCK. They just love their Tom Kench, so
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the Kench being benched. I'm very much sick of that champion. So hopefully we get to 914 soon enough. So I see a little bit less of him. But Irelia being picked up here as well. Still a flex. And the Caitlyn as well for celebrity. So that's.
Yeah, that's an interesting adaptation. The game Cerberus won last week against Flash was with a Caitlyn, a very good Caitlyn game. They ended the game at 27 minutes. It was a pretty clean Caitlyn snowball play of bot lane and spread the lead throughout the map. Now we have a very strong lanes already secured for Loki. Irelia is probably going into the hands of Artifact. He has played 5 Irelia games before, and the strong bot lane to round out the first round of the draft. What do you think of the Ashe pickup here?
I actually think it's pretty smart. Presumably, it will be that mage volley spam Ash that we've been seeing all over the world. Um, I think that's actually potentially quite smart here against the Caitlyn to prevent some of that snowball. I think it should slow her down. I don't think the Ash wins lane by any means,
I think she
but
can
she should.
actually.
Really?
Yeah,
I
it's
would have thought
possible.
she'd go even.
Yeah,
Okay.
even is more likely, and with Tom Kench into Lux support, the lane is probably still a losing lane. But Ashe is incredibly strong in lane, especially with the volley buff a few patches ago. She can outtrade Caitlyn and outpoke her as well. So one of the few ADCs that is competitive with Caitlyn in lane, even though the range advantage is still on Caitlyn's side, but it's only 50 compared to something like 125 if it's Xayah. Xayah really struggles onto Caitlyn most of the time. Yeah, I really
Yeah,
like
you
this
just
Ashe pickup.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really good. It's good to see the VCS picking up things that are really strong over the world as well, not defaulting to Kai'Sa as so many VCS teams do. The bans in the second phase here are jungle focused, aside from Yado Zoe being removed, and the Gragas will be secured here. So DNK potentially being pushed down the list a fair bit here. 4 junglers out of the pool, 5 with the Gragas, of course. So good to see what he goes for. We could see a Nidalee.
Yeah, usually he goes towards Nidalee, right? He has played 5 Nidalee games already. Actually, not the most convincing Nidalee, in my opinion. He has played the most Nidalee games, but some of the games have looked a little bit iffy. Nidalee will get buffed next patch, so we'll probably see more Nidalee on 914. Instead, it's another
Yep.
AP jungler in the Silas, so damage profile already looking very good on both sides. I'm super happy with the draft we got for our first game in week 5.
Yeah, I mean, it does look like both of our gimmicks are going to be a little bit put aside, at least in game one. No Kai'Sa for me and no triple AD or AP topsides for you. What a shame. But is Syndra as well? That's obviously going to go to Artifact, so it is actually going to be Hani on the Irelia, which is. I mean, he'll probably be going into Aatrox, so that is a good matchup at least.
Yeah, and Hani. Oh no, he has actually not played a game of Aurelia this season. All the Aurelia games were on Artifact side. He has played Aurelia 5 times and Hani not a single time. So we might actually see Hani go mid lane with this Syndra and have Artifact play top lane Aurelia. Would be a little bit surprised to see Hani play the Aurelia when Artifact is by far the best Aurelia player on the team. Maybe they tried something new with Hani now going for more of a split push style of play. He has so far mostly played mages and teamfight focused champions.
Yeah, I mean, they've had obviously a week of scrims and practice to get in, and also every top laner worth their salt has to be able to play Aurelia. Let's be real. Even if he hasn't brought it out on stage, you can guarantee he's played a lot of that champion just because you can't be a professional top laner in the current meta and not know how to play Aurelia. It's pretty unacceptable.
There are a few top laners in the VCS that would like to challenge you on that opinion, but I don't want to.
No, I mean, my opinion is correct. The problem is the PCS doesn't carry on and say, well, if you can't play the S tier top laner, sit on the bench, which is what I would do.
Fair enough. I really like the. We start the cast this week with my opinion is correct. That's nice to hear.
I mean,
I mean, I
okay, fair
agree. I
enough.
agree.
just channeling my LS. Was
Uh,
this? Oh, I think I can't read much Vietnamese there, but I think that may be calling out the perfect game that we did see earlier in the season.
oh, low key perfect. Yeah, low key perfect game Cerberus. That's right.
Yeah.
That was in the first round robin, and it was probably one of the very few perfect games we still get to see, with the meta favoring skirmishes and favoring kill traits all around the world. Perfect games are not
Yep.
really on the cards anymore, but Loki managed to perfect game Cerberus. That was.
I mean, perfect games are so. It's not only. You are right, obviously, that with how many skirmishes and that there is, it's so rare that you don't give up at least one or two kills. But also, like, there's so many objectives in the game at the moment.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
if you're the team that's the better team and you go for, a 4-man bot or something, even if you execute that perfectly, it's so easy for the enemy jungler just to, get a Rift Herald or something. And that's your perfect game gone, even if it doesn't matter. Um, so I don't think we'll be seeing too many of those, and I would hope we don't see one here, because I do think Cerberus has shown improvement over the split. They've got a long way to go, but they are getting better.
Yep. Azir into Artifact Syndra sounds a little bit scary to me. Yado has had his up games, but most of the time he has struggled in the mid lane. A little bit more on the weaker side of our mid lane pool, I should say. So
Yep.
now with the Azir into Syndra matchup, a scaling matchup for him. He has gone with the Comet, so at least a little bit of lane control. But there will be an opportunity to kill him, especially around level 6 with DNK and maybe even Hani or Venus roaming to his lane.
Yeah, there absolutely will be. I do think we are in for a little bit of a slow early game, however. Both mid laners pretty happy just to scale at least until level 6. The top lane, I mean, I'm a little bit concerned at how scared Hani is playing.
Yeah, early game, sometimes we see patterns like this from Irelia or Camille's into Aatrox, because Aatrox just has the very strong traits in the early few levels, because you don't really want to auto attack him, right? You don't want to get the minion aggro in the early game, and he doesn't need to auto attack you to trade up with his Q piercing through the minions. So Aatrox with a little bit of an early advantage. That's not too uncommon. I think Aurelia is still probably fine. She has very good tools farming out the wave.
Yep, and we do have DNK here going for a little bit of interference on pot. Apparently wasn't spotted by that entrance ward.
No, and
Or,
now it might be a smite fight, but LL is here.
yeah, and it is secured there by pot. So in the end, a little bit of time wasted by DNK. I'm not sure how he got in unspotted there.
Yeah, I think he went over the Baron wall, maybe. You
He
can do
didn't.
that
He
on.
walked in.
Oh, DNK is still
He walked in.
invading.
Yeah, this is a very aggressive posture from Silas here, using the fact that his mid laner has priority just to make it so that really can't be challenged. The Groms are being stolen. They're actually potentially going for something more, or just interrupting Pot's back, wasting some time.
Yeah, it's wasting a little bit of time from Port, but to be fair, look at the jungle on the red team. There's nothing available for Port anyway, so the few seconds you were delayed don't really matter too much. He can't go
No.
for the top side scuttle, but he couldn't go for that anyway, because top and mid had priority on Loki's side. So even though he got cancelled, and that's annoying, it just doesn't feel good to get cancelled on the recall. Doesn't really change too much.
Yeah, very true. And he is going to get this bot side scuttler regardless. Does get spotted out by that hawk shot, but I think it would have been a pretty obvious call that that's where he was regardless. But still, the utility of that Ash ability is very, very strong. Sometimes can be a little bit understated. I think Hawkshot's super valuable.
Yep. But look at the bot lane.
DNK
We've
going again.
what are you doing, DNK?
Setting up for a gank, it seems.
Yeah, this gang can't really succeed. Look at all its HP. I mean, Flawless Duet has to hit. If Flawless Duel is missed, they can't do anything. Okay, now the gank is over.
Yep. And it missed. And he's DNK's going to get a fair bit of a chunk in. LL thinks he can do this, and I mean, he's not wrong, actually. Could be going for the turn here. Forces the flash out of DNK.
Oh
Flashes
no.
forward on his own. Harney's so healed, though. Oh, my word. It was nearly the turn. LL just underestimated his damage ever so slightly, but
Well,
definitely puts the fear of God into DNK.
well, I have to say, I absolutely hate DNK's pathing, because that was such an inefficient gank. He gave
Yeah.
up two camps support in the bottom side, and he had complete control over the jungle matchup.
Ooh, LL engaging here onto Harney does do a lot of damage. Oof, this top lane matchup's not going well.
Yeah, it's still kind of fine, I think, for Harney in the early game, as I said before. I think it's okay to give up a few CS to the Aatrox. He still has a flash available, so he might actually be able to solo kill the Aatrox now. We've seen many solo kills come out from Aurelius into Aatrox. Now with Executioner's Calling secured as well, there definitely is an opportunity. I think Yoshino or Zeros would look for solo kills in this situation. We have not seen Harney on Aurelia, so we don't really know how his Aurelia is going to look. But yeah,
It's true.
this top lane now is a little bit dangerous for Lara.
Yeah, that it is. And to steal one of your common talking points there, not really a big fan of LL's rune choice. Has gone Conqueror into the Irelia, and as you often say, not the best choice because Irelia just uses that rune better.
Yeah, I mean, I always say I hate to see top laners challenge Aurelia on Conqueror, and especially on Aatrox, because I just think it's not the best rune on Aatrox, even regardless of the matchup. I think
Yep.
the shorter burst trade runes are just stronger on this champion. He's not an auto attack focused champion.
No,
But I
you
want
spend so
to
much
draw
time
your attention
chilling.
to Easy Love. Look at what he's loaded up with in the game and what he's building. This is not the Comet, the mage
This is strange.
focused Ash.
Yeah, you are completely correct. I hadn't even looked at him because I just assumed that that was what we were going to see. Why pick Ash if you're going to deviate like this?
Yeah, that's a little bit strange. We have not seen Ash at all before the Comet Trinity meta came in. So now we have to see what this Ash is capable of doing. I mean, Ash is still an okay ADC with lethal tempo, will out DPS the Caitlyn in mid game team fights. He seems to be going for Blade into. What was the old Ash build about? I think it was Blade into Black Cleaver
Uh,
as well.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
we'll
so.
have to see.
I haven't seen that Ash build in a very, very long time. I barely remember it, but I'm not sure how I feel about this pick.
It's a very mid game focused build from the Ash. And that's a little bit strange, looking at Cerberus' team comp, considering you have Azir in the mid lane against Syndra. You don't really want to fight around mid game, because Azir
No.
will outscale Syndra in the DPS department later on in the game. Mid game is still firmly in control for Syndra. Then we have top lane. I mean, Aatrox is good around mid game team fights and will get outscaled in the side lane matchup against Aurelia, so I think there it is fine to go for mid game focused build. It's a little bit strange with looking at the Azir, and we'll have to see what this Ashe is going to do in the game.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We'll have to see how it turns out. Um, 'Cause at the moment, it's very hard to make an assessment call on it. DNK is coming down here looking for the dive. Easy Love actually gets hit by that Caitlyn off, which is not great, but in the end, nothing happens.
That looked a little bit silly. Ashe ult
It,
into Ashe ult. Nice interaction. I just
yep.
played a game yesterday with Salas against Ashe, and yeah, it's pretty much whoever hits the Ashe ult first wins. But in this case, Ashe was not hit by the Ashe ult, so she could just freely respond with her own Ashe ult, and both sides were stunned briefly and disengaged.
Yeah, absolutely. And DNK has been very active on the map here so far, to the point where, despite his early pressure onto Pot, he's actually fallen behind now in CS. Not by an irreparable amount, but still a not insignificant number.
But
And
that
so
being
far,
said,
he's
Pod
found
has not
nothing.
found anything on the map so far.
He
He has had
he hasn't.
relatively good pathing to counter DNK's early aggression, but hold the thought. LL has its flash available, so there's nothing happening here. So usually you want to gank early on with Gragas as well, right? You don't want to go for maybe a Predator. He is gone Predator as well, so usually level 3, level 4 is what Gragas is looking at for an early snowball gank. Sometimes top
Do you,
lane, sometimes bot lane.
do you need to with these lanes though?
Y-
I agree in a normal Gragas game, absolutely that's what you want to do. But with the lanes that he has,
Yeah, I I can see your point, but on the other side, why are you playing Gragas then?
yeah,
Why
that's
don't
what
go
I.
for a tank jungler if you
Yeah,
don't want
I
to
mean I
gank
agree.
early on? And he still has now hit level 7, so level 6 power spike is still what he wants to play around next. Maybe an early skirmish against on the top on the bot side, I think, could be an option. But meanwhile,
Oh, DK gets interrupted on the Rift Herald. Pot actually flashed to do that.
yeah, that was very good awareness from Pot. Not too
That
much
was very.
blame for the NK in my opinion, because he could have not anticipated Pot come out of nowhere, flash on top of him, and ult him away. A little bit unfortunate for the side of Loki. At least they get the flash from Pot and have now swapped lanes, which is an interesting adaptation. They set up everything for the Rift Herald, and now the Rift Herald has not succeeded on their side, which means their whole game plan is delayed by 1 or 2 minutes. Cerberus has a little bit of free time to farm up and look for the next play. They've fallen behind 1k gold already, so it's not the greatest early game start.
Yeah, but that's pretty much entirely turret plates
Yeah,
and Caitlyn CS, which I mean we sort of expect. That's sort of just what Caitlyn does. She takes turret plates and she gets a bit of a farm lead.
absolutely. I mean, Ash has
So
still played her quite closely. I think in the pure 2v2, Easy 11 Ronopi were fine, and then with the attention from DNK coming in, they had to give up a little bit more in the bot side. Lost 2 platings. Now, top lane has lost 1 plating as well, so overall 3 platings going over to the side of Loki. And they're still on track for their perfect game repeat. That being said, no, they're actually not. They gave up a dragon.
they
I'm
lost a
lying.
drag.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so this is already an improvement out of Cerberus compared to the last time we saw this matchup. Uh,
At
they're
least in
not
game
getting
one.
perfect game in game one at least. Yeah.
Game two
So
was actually very close the first time they played each other. Was one of the longest games. I'm not quite sure if it was in fact the longest game. I think the longest game was between
that
DBL and
DBL
yeah, there was
when
one DBL game that was insanely long. I'm not sure against whom. But yeah, the first time they played against each other, there was a 47-minute game, I think, in the game two, which in the end Loki won, but Cerberus looked way better than in the perfect game, obviously.
a lot of players in the top lane here, but it doesn't. Again, it looks like Loki can't actually convert anything to kills.
Yeah, but looking at their comp, they don't really have to. It's a very strong siege comp. But they've given up a lot of gold in the last 2 minutes. Look, I'm actually not sure where the gold is coming from. But the gold is back to almost even though Cerberus has not secured a turret plating for themselves. Will now
Yep,
probably hit the turret plating in the bot lane. And this
they
is actually
definitely should.
not a good play from Loki. This is not what the 2019 changes were about. You can't really hard commit on a turret, because turret platings get tankier and tankier, and they get punished by this call. They could now go for the first turret again, because the turret platings have fallen, but they've given up a lot of gold in the last 2, 3 minutes, and Cerberus is back to even.
Yeah, exactly. It's a 200 gold game all of a sudden. A few turret plates in the mid lane, a few turret plates in the bot lane, and we can start to look at where that gold is.
600
And you
in
can
the
see,
top lane,
yeah,
and
which is
around 400
equalized.
in the mid lane.
Yeah, and with 700 in the bot lane to low key's side, that's at least where most of that equalization is.
And I
So
think
it is
this is
pretty
actually
much back to
strongly
the 200
favors
game.
Cerberus right now, because Ash
Yep.
has a little bit more of a natural scaling, especially with the lethal tempo. She should be actually stronger than Caitlyn in the DPS department right now. So I think Cerberus might look to engage in a fight in the next few minutes. Azir has hit his first item and has a defensive item as well. So he's hard to kill. And then LL has finished his first item as well, compared to, yeah, some little scraps on the
Little
side of Hani.
bits of items. Yeah, lots of swords and whatever Tiamat is.
An axe?
uh,
Looks like an axe.
yeah, I guess, but it's got a big curve, but it's probably an axe.
Looks like a very
Um,
small axe, maybe even a throw axe thingy.
yeah, maybe. This is a very annoying visual bug we do have on Venus. There, he's been revealed for the last several minutes. Uh, that is just a visual bug, though. It's just the eyes. But here comes the TP. The Ash ult comes in and hits
Ooh!
immediately. Celebrity and Venus are in so much trouble. They try and go for the trade kill onto Yado, but the stopwatch does save him, at least for now. And with the shield, he is permanently saved.
Shield and
Two
level up.
kills by Cerberus. Yeah, wow.
Good awareness
He
from Yado.
absolutely. And that is now a bit of a breaking point for Cerberus, but it's immediately answered back by first turret, picked up by Hani.
So this is a very interesting passage of play, because we said the advantage lies with the solo lanes of Cerberus, and now they made a play around the bot lane, while the solo lanes from Loki, especially Hani in this case, got an advantage. Meanwhile,
Ooh, LL has to flash. Was a bit caught out there. Celebrity TP'd in on that ward, so managed to get behind him.
yeah, and we're still at even gold, even though Cerberus got a very nice double kill. But the gold now is more interestingly spread out between the two teams. I think now we're really back to even gold in terms of matchups, even because the Aatrox got a kill while Hani got solo turret gold. Another kill went over to Azir, so Azir might still be a little bit ahead in terms of gold compared to Artifact. But I really like this play from Cerberus, I have to say. Very good decisive call. They knew that they had the advantage in early fights, and they called the fight. I like to see that. Our bottom
I
team
agree.
showing a little bit more coordination.
Yep, I completely agree, especially with the long range Ash Arrow being called in. It's always good to see those land successfully because it is a bit of a team play to make it happen, as silly as that kind of sounds. And here we do see that play. It was actually started out by a very nice little ult there by Yado, and he just barely survives there.
And look at what Venus tried to do there. Flash Ignite to kill the Yado. Didn't even succeed. That has to feel very bad for the Lux. Investing both summoner spells to not get a kill. Not the greatest feeling ever. And now Lux is actually pretty vulnerable. She has gone for the Aftershock, so if she's able to hit the Q, she's still quite tanky. But if you can burst her down with Pot and yeah, maybe Ash Arrow again, she has no time to activate her Aftershock. She still goes down very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. She's definitely vulnerable. One thing I did like to see out of low key there in that last passage of play was how quickly they snowballed down that bot lane, just executing exactly what you want to see out of a Caitlyn comp. As soon as you've got a free lane where you have an advantage, you just go. You just walk down the lane and let your Caitlyn hit the tower.
Yeah, and we saw Cerberus struggling to defend. They couldn't really approach the wave because all their tools were on cooldown. We have a interesting situation here where Loki has the stronger siege and the stronger arming, so you can group very easy and push turrets. But Cerberus probably has the stronger team fight overall and the better engage as well. Ooh, nice dodge.
Yes, very well done there. But LL's in a fair bit of trouble here, but never mind. He picks up this kill onto Hani. DNK could be in a little bit of trouble here. This is still Aatrox with a revive. Flashes away to keep himself safe. LL doesn't want to chase. It was
Oh
a very
man.
wise decision, but excellent turn there out of the Aatrox.
This is horrible for Loki. This is really, really bad. This is not a lane they're supposed to lose, especially after investing even more time and gave up 2 kills to give Hani solo gold. Now solo gold back to LL. He got the shutdown on Hani as well. More than 750 gold just from kill and turret there. So
Yeah,
this is not
this
looking
is
great for Hani. His first game on Aurelia, he's not really showing up too much on this champ.
Yeah, you can say that again. And also, one thing worth noting is that the mid lane tower for Loki is down while Cerberus still holds theirs, which is actually pretty big in terms of how you can support the solo lanes, because the map is just so much more closed off if you're Loki.
Yep, Ronopi is still not level 11, so there's no immediate side lane collapse play for Cerberus. That will be available once the TK hits the level 11. But look at this fight again. LL with a very fortunate dodge. I think it was not really anticipated or anything. A
I
little bit
don't think so.
unfortunate from Hani's side. And forcing the flash from DNK as well after killing Hani already without having to flash yourself. It's a very high value play for LL, even if you don't look at the kill gold and the turret gold going over to him.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very, very well done there. We do still consistently see very good Aatrox play out of the VCS. So it's good to see that tradition continuing.
Yeah, we have very good Aatrox players indeed. Some really take over the whole game. We saw Hero last week absolutely dominate on this pick. And now
Yep.
LL might follow suit because this is a very good setup for him now. Two items secured. The next team fight, Loki will really struggle dealing with LL because who's going to kill
Yeah,
them?
exactly. I'm not sure. Maybe Caitlyn can get some lucky crits on him and force him out, but that's so unlikely with the healing that Aatrox gets. But this is an important dragon here as well. The Mountain Drake has spawned. They're finally back after we did see a little bit of a void of them last week. Not something I thought I'd say, but Loki, no!
Boom!
LL manages to steal that away. I'm not sure how.
How did that happen?
DNK was in position. He didn't have smite. Or was that no, that's just the second charge coming up. He did have it.
Yeah, and Pot had smite as well. Didn't even try to steal. Another very fortunate turn of events for Cerberus. LL seems to have the luckiest touch on this game. After dodging the Irelia now stealing away the Mountain Drake as well. And this game looks already pretty dire for Loki. If you look at what they're
Absolutely.
at, Caitlyn has hit her mid game trough. She's not very strong right now. We have Hani who's struggling in the 1v1 even, and his teamfight impact is lower from start compared to the Aatrox, so Hani can't really do anything right now. Artifact has not gotten any kills, so even Yado is stronger than him, even a level up.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. This is Loki looking very, very not indecisive, but they're just not doing anything. DNK's put in a huge effort to try and make plays as the jungler, but didn't manage to find anything. And it seems like they don't quite know what to do now that the early aggression has failed.
yeah, it's very interesting that they try to adapt a new strategy, in my opinion, for Loki this game. I think they try to play around Hani, which they have not really done before, and DNK continue to visit topside again and again with his Silas, but no gank has really paid off for them and even turned around. We saw almost a double kill for Loki for LL last time. Hani and DNK went for him, so I think Loki probably came in and tried to force a game around top lane matchup, but they were not
Pot
successful.
getting
Now they're in a
caught
lot
out
of
here.
trouble.
Goes into the stopwatch, but I don't think this is going to be enough for the Gragas to survive. Yeah, no, he is absolutely dead. Pot just caught in the river. Jungler dead. They might think about Baron here, but I don't think it would be very wise.
Yeah, very good pick for Loki. Their first kill in the game will, in the end, not change too much about the game. They at least got the stop. Oh no, not. It's not even the stopwatch because now Zonias has come in for pot. So I guess they get a little bit of positioning and vision lead around Baron, but they can't really convert it into anything. So Loki has to stall out with more picks. It's a good first step to prolong the game. They need their Caitlyn this game to hit 4 items to be competitive with Ashe in terms of teamfight DPS.
Ooh, the arrow's out. but it does miss this time. Artifact managing to float away there. Not sure if that was a bit of a risk, I feel. Didn't really need to stun Ron and Yado, but went for it anyway. It doesn't really matter. And that is a play unsuccessful for Cerberus.
Yeah, and we see the differences between this Ashe build and the new Ashe build. This Ashe build definitely has more DPS, it's a stronger mid-game build, but you're really missing the cooldown reduction. And the Ashe arrow, look at the cooldown, with the 40% cooldown build, this Ashe arrow would be almost up again. Now it's not even hitting half the cooldown, so yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely
with
a
the
different playstyle. It's not focused on picks. It's not so much focused around solo lanes. It's more focused around team fighting with the Ashe, with the damage of the Ashe.
yeah, and I mean, I still think it's very interesting that we have seen this come out. When we saw the Ashe locked in, I think we both assumed he was going to go for that,
Definitely.
the cooldown reduction, etc. But he ends up going for this build, and we're going to have to see if it works out for them. So far, I mean, it is. They are in the lead here. It's only 1k gold, but I think that's all right for them. We have to see if it keeps going forward, and we have to answer the question of, if you're going to build Ashe like this, shouldn't you just pick another ADC? Or
Mm,
is Ashe like built like this actually just fine?
I think it's actually just fine. Especially with Tahm Kench. It's a little bit like going Varus Tahm Kench. Not too sure why they didn't go Varus Tahm Kench if they want to play a team fight ADC focused on positioning with Tahm Kench. It's usually the Varus that comes in, but Ashe has a little bit stronger map play with her ult and a little bit less CPS maybe if you stand still, but even more lane control in my opinion compared to the Varus, especially against the Caitlyn. So it's maybe just a lane counter pick they practiced a lot. I'm still a little confused by the build, but I think the other build is just overall stronger right now. It's seen a lot in especially the Western leagues. And
Yeah,
right
and I
now
mean, it's
he's going
like,
full DPS. He's not even opting into Essence Reaver third. He goes for IE third, which really is just around about out auto attacking, which is a little bit weird. I think you still want the cooldown reduction for Ashe.
yeah, I do agree, but I mean, there's also a merit to sticking to what a build
Yep.
does. Um, I'm unsure. Oh, Celebrity takes a lot of damage there. LL's going to come in from the side, but Luck's very good at forcing engages to not happen.
That was
And
almost
Loki,
as cool as our Gragas ult into Lisa in play we saw a few weeks ago. He got
almost.
kicked around, did not go down. Interesting QSS. It was the Mikhails actually coming in. Was a little bit curious where the QSS effect was stemming from because he doesn't go. Oh, Yado might be dead.
No, he's okay. In the end, does get gobbled up there by Ron. Tom Kench, very, very good at saving that. So hopefully,
Oh oh.
oh,
Oh oh.
goodbye, Pot. Pot just vanished there. DNK's very deep in the Shurima Shuffle. Not a very good dance. DNK will show you how to do it, though. And down goes Yado. DNK should be able to limp away here. Hani does have to flash just so that the Tom Kench slows and stuns isn't going to kill him. Celebrity has to flash out of that Infernal Chains as well, but this should be Baron pretty easily here for low key. I don't think there's much Cerberus can do.
No, I agree. This is
And he
very
tried to go
unfortunate.
forward there onto Artifact. Ron flashed forward there. I'm not 100% sure what for. Baron
You
at
got the flash
4k
out of
health.
Artifact.
If Cerberus is going to
Oh
contest, they
no.
need to do it now. There are some low health bars. LL is activated. Long have we waited. Aatrox activated. And this time the revive's actually going to matter. Won't be able to do this next patch. How many kills can he clean up as he goes into another revive? Finally goes down here.
Now it's the
And it's
counter Aatrox. Oh no.
actually Cerberus getting massively cleaned up there.
Yeah.
3 for 3. And the Baron is still on 2 members of low key.
LL was not as successful as he thought he would be. I think
Well, he would have.
multiple flashes prevented him from absolutely murdering everyone. I want to go back to the start of the play because I think Cerberus actually did everything correctly there, aside from mechanics. Because Their setup was very good. I think their flank was very dangerous for Loki. I thought Loki would be wiped and Cerberus would get Baron. But a very big mechanical misplays, especially from Yado and Pot, came out and gave Loki the teamfight victory. Look at this again. So Artifact had to flash away. Now LL wants to approach. Very good dodge on the
Ooh, very
Q.
nice Syndra.
Yeah, Syndra interrupt. And L first goes on Artifact, which is might be the wrong call here, because everyone is stacked in the pit. He sees the kill on Artifact, and he gets the kill on Artifact, so fair enough. He got what he came for, but in the end, maybe going for AoE damage in the pit would have been the better call. Very funny kill from Pot on Celebrity on the backside of the fight. Just throwing his ult at him.
Yeah, see you, mate. Just don't think this one's going to be a perfect one for you. It was 3 for 3 in the end, but I think we expected it to be a little bit more one-sided towards
Cerberus.
Cerberus
Yeah.
once things started going the way they were. And as you said, it was just a little bit of mechanical misplay, unfortunately. There's the stolen Grag Assault used. Ron just copping that damage, but he is a Tarn Kench, so damage doesn't really stick to him.
Yeah, it's super
And
unfortunate because now the game is actually back in Loki's favor. The Caitlyn has been able to secure more items and will finally hit hard again. Probably pure DPS is still on in favor of the
I know,
Ashe, but
just for the record, this Caitlyn build is awful.
yeah, it's really not great.
It's really don't build 2 attack speed items, guys. Just go
Especially
just go
not
Essence Reaver third.
second and third. That's just not great.
Like yeah, you can go like 5th item static maybe, but not third.
Yeah, it will probably not matter in the end because he has bridged
Very
the
true.
gap to the late game. He has hit around 280 AD, I'd say. So his headshot crits will be at 800, 900. Very dangerous, especially for Ashe. She ever gets caught. And even Tam Kench struggles a lot against Caitlyn Burst.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she hits very, very hard. No question about that, but she could be hitting harder had she just built that Essence Reaver. The Ash Arrow is used, DNK locked up, but freed by the Mikhails. Gotta say, I like this build adaptation out of Venus to pick up this Crucible.
Yeah, Crucible
Makes that
and
Ash
then
Arrow scary.
second item, Ardent Sensor. I'm super happy with Venus. Thank you for building the best item on Lux.
Absolutely. Very, very good. Can apply that buff to all members of his team pretty much instantly with a W. So that is why we say it's so good on Lux.
Yeah,
This
especially
is
with
now going to
with
be
the auto tech focused top laner and an auto tech user in the jungle as well. Its
yep,
value is insane. Probably gives you around
absolutely.
4 or 5,000 worth of stats with just one W. It's really very very strong on Lux. And we say Lux. This is
Yeah,
the last hurrah for Lux in the support role for this patch, because next patch she will be maybe not completely gone, but mostly gone. Especially her W will lose a lot of value.
yeah, exactly. I think we might still see her in those few matchups she was picked mid.
Yeah, or
I
even
don't think.
bot
I don't
lane
think.
if it's Hugh
Yeah,
playing.
yeah, like bot lane carry. But I think as support, she just has sort of plummeted down the tier list, and not gonna lie, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we've seen
I'm
a
okay
lot of her.
with
I
that
think
being
she's still interesting and fun to watch, but yeah, 2 months of Lux priority are enough in my opinion as well. I mean, there's still Tam Kench, who has been meta for the last 5 years, it feels like. But
I mean, yeah, I would gladly endure another year of Lux if it meant Tom Kent was never played again.
we
God, I'm
just
sick of
saw
that.
9.14 on in the first draft on LCK. I followed that one. Griffin picked up Nami in the bot lane. That's a super
Ooh,
interesting adaptation because
love
Nami is always almost never pro play ready. She's a very strong solo queue support, and especially if you're good at Nami, you can absolutely carry the game through bot lane.
Yep, totally can.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe we might see a little bit of a Nami meta. I think the last Nami meta was 2015, where SKT especially played a lot of Nami with Wolf, one of the best Nami players of all time when it comes to pro play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like Nami. I'd be okay with that. But DNK getting knocked back a little bit there. Does go down to half health, but he's all right. He's all right. Nabs himself a Grag Assault on the disengage. He's now level 16 as well, so pretty significant power spike for the Silas.
Yeah, and it's
And with
still the
Baron back up,
cooldown
and
on 10 seconds, not on 60, like it will be in the next patch. So this Silas is still the late game monster we all know.
yep. And Baron is going down fairly quickly. Low-key has secured themselves a Mountain Drake since their last moment. Ooh, Artifact gets dove on, but he does manage to hit that Zhonya's just in time. Baron's secured, but can they escape? LL is trying to have a bit of a say, but does have to flash away here.
Oh,
Now, we
what is
just need to
Cerberus
see if the
doing?
disengage real. Cerberus should probably be going into the pit. Oh, DNK didn't get over that
They
wall
did
there.
absolutely nothing to contest there. It was only LL. What were the four other members doing?
No
Oh, that
idea.
was super surprising. They just threw away the game for absolutely no
Yeah,
reason.
well, Yado, why isn't Yado, did he get stopped? I'm very confused as to what happened there. It looked like he could have gotten away, but this is now an inhibitor defense without your Azir. This is a
Yeah, this
very
game
bad
is
time. He's
just
going to get
over now.
interrupted again. This is almost just game. No, they will back off maybe because of health bars.
Yeah,
But Yado just can't be. Oh, he
oh,
finally kills Venus, so he should be able to press B safely now. But the amount of time Venus just bought was incredible.
yeah, what a weird passage of play. I'm really surprised whether Cerberus didn't do anything there. What was the call like? Let them have Baron. We'll defend our base anyway. Like, I don't understand the
Then
thought
why
process
then
here.
why even position where you were?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
if that's the call you're making, then don't even step
Yeah,
up. Be
then
ready
push
to
out
defend.
waves. If you don't want to contest, just push out waves. Delay the Baron. Try to set up vision to defend more easily. I really don't understand what they were doing here. I mean, it wasn't. It looked like a collective brain fart or anything like that, like something like that. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, we both know that the brain machines behind the stage are a little bit iffy over in
Yeah,
Vietnam. Maybe there's like a
very
storm or something.
unfortunate moment for problem with the brain machines, because servers actually looked like they could have gotten the game victory in the first game here, but now the last 10 minutes have been atrocious.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they did a like to Cerberus's credit. I think they weathered the storm of the early game aggression out of DNK super well.
Yeah, I
Actually was
liked their
really
mid
impressed
game a
with that.
lot.
Yeah, but this transition into the late game has been really atrocious. So that's a real shame.
Yeah, I think we once again see a little bit of communication issues on the servers side. We have talked again and again about their players being probably better than a 1-7 team. Like if you just look at individual players, it's not like they have Rika and other not so great players in the BCS.
Yeah,
Their
that's
laners are
exactly it.
solid. Um,
Yeah. Ooh, Ron OP, just goodbye.
and now
They
once
can't.
again, Cerberus will not contest an objective.
Well, they can't.
I
And
mean,
that's Elder Dragon giving up.
why are they even approaching the Dragon Pit then? Just
I have
stay in
no idea.
base if you don't want to. Like,
Okay.
Lo- Loki got gifted this game victory. It's very fortunate for them because they came out of a 4 game losing streak from last week and looked very bad as well in this game. But in the end, Cerberus is still bad enough to give them the game victory, and Loki might put themselves in a better position in the next game.
Yeah, we would hope so. And there goes the stolen Ash ult in to the dive. Hani does actually Celebrity is the one that picks up that kill onto Yado. Hani goes into the GA there. Might be pretty tricky for him to escape, but never mind. Mikhail's is a pretty good item there to help him get out. And they do look like they are just going to go for a little bit of KDA before finally closing out game one, low key, taking it over Cerberus in a bit of a messy one that looked a bit more like a game of basketball.
Yep,
All the throws.
a lot of throws. We have to say it's a little bit of a typical Cerberus game because their game time is very long, and as we just said in Outcast, Their laners are doing fine in most of the matchups. Maybe not against Gum or DBL, but against almost all the other teams, they mostly get to a mid game in a pretty even gold state, then fail to do anything on the map, and we once again saw their struggles, communication wise, coordination wise. Definitely not the greatest team.
Yeah, no, absolutely not the greatest. Gonna have to see if they can pick anything up in game two. Maybe try and ride their early game a little bit better. It's a difficult one to see it happening there.
I'd like to play them to play around LL again. I think he has impressed me the most from all the Cerberus players. He has won the lane against Rezo last week. Or the week before that. I'm not sure which week it was. He looked very good last week as well, and now today dominated Hani on this matchup. So I think LL is probably right now your best player. Try
Yep.
to give him a winning matchup, maybe something you can snowball into an insurmountable side lane lead, and yeah, why not try to go with that? Your playoff hopes are out of the window. It's once again throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, right?
Yep, absolutely. So, gonna have to see what we like. I'm not sure what can change specifically out of Cerberus. Would have been nice. Would be nice to see them play a little bit more around the top lane, as you said. So, let's see if they pull that one out.
Yeah. For me, this is a very hard game to decide an MVP on. I think
There you go.
Brain Machines from Cerberus are probably MVP. Who had the most game impact on the side of Loki?
I almost think it's Celebrity, just because the Caitlyn was what they played around.
Yeah, I think that's fair. DNK probably the most active member, but if you look at the results of his plays or attempted plays, not the greatest overall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Celebrity is a fine MVP. It was not really a game where you look at the game and say this one player absolutely carried the team. It was a very slow, very back and forth game. So the ADC, who was the focal point of the composition, probably gets the deserved MVP in this case.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll be
Well,
back.
we will have to see. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to do the same thing there. I think we both had the same idea. We'll have to see what Cerberus can do in game two in about 5.5 minutes. Hopefully, you will join us again.
Yeah, let's see if Cerberus can come back or Loki. If Loki gets a little bit better in game two and closes this one out a little bit more like the top team they are looking at the standings.
G'day, everybody. We are back here for game 2 of Loki taking on Cerberus. Loki have that one game lead, but it wasn't a particularly convincing outing for either team, really.
You can say
So
that
who
again.
knows? Absolutely. So who knows what'll happen in game 2?
Yeah, looking at the draft, we had a little bit of discussion on the Discord as well about the draft on the side of servers. I think the draft wasn't the biggest of the problems. I actually think the draft was fine. If you go for another mid laner, it's probably a little bit of a stronger mid game team. Look for a little bit more playmaking from the mid game, especially Seado looked a little bit off when it came to mechanics as well. DNK actually gets the MVP here. Interesting choice.
He made an effort in the early game. It didn't
Yeah.
work, but he made an effort.
And now is on top together with Optimus as well. DNK on 500 points, Celebrity on 400. So Celebrity on the official broadcast hit 400 points, I think in week 1 already. And
Yeah.
since then has not gotten a single MVP. Very interesting.
Ooh, this is interesting. Harney's out.
Well, this is the first substitution Loki has made all season. Oh, split, I should say. King J played a lot in Spring Split. I think King J and Hani were. I mean, they were sharing time on the Spring Split, so it was not clear which of the two would be the starting top laner. But in Summer Split so far, Hani has been playing every single game. But after the first game, it's probably warranted, right?
Yeah, I mean, he had a pretty unimpressive performance on the Irelia. So we're going to see if King J can potentially be a little bit more impressive here. I do think part of this is it's very safe to make a substitution right now. You're one game up on arguably the worst team in the league. So, I mean, what are you really risking?
Yeah, that's true.
But that said, considering that how Loki looked last game, I don't think they should be saying this is an easy win. They didn't look good.
Yep. But I think the substitution of King J is probably a good call from Loki, especially if they want to go for a bruiser top lane once again. Hani has looked best on his Nico, on his mages overall. I think he's a good mage player. He's probably the best top lane Nico we have in the VCS. But as Nico continues to get banned out, I think probably fielding a better bruiser top laner is a good call against LL. We talked about LL being one of the strongest points for Cerberus and maybe the attacking point for Cerberus. They want to get a
Yeah.
bigger lead. So yeah,
Aatrox
smart
is still open.
adaptation.
Aatrox could still be first picked here if LL wants it.
Yep.
Yep.
Irelia
See what?
is up as well. Maybe Irelia over Aatrox.
Nope. Sejuani over the both of them.
That's a very interesting adaptation, especially as Silas is still open. DNK could look for another Silas game.
Yeah, I mean, we did say that based on how Pot played game 1, it was very strange that he wasn't just
What?
on a tank jungler.
What? Why?
But,
What's going on? Where did this Lucian pick come from? Wait,
I mean, I don't
what?
mind. I
That's
don't
so
mind
confusing.
Lucian. Why this early?
Yeah, especially after a very good Caitlyn game from Celebrity. Eh, it's okay. Silas and Irelia and Aatrox don't exist, I guess. That's a very weird draft from Loki already.
What is going on?
I mean, you don't have to pick Silas right now. That's true. Okay, but Aatrox and Irelia, you could look in Aatrox, Irelia, and then Silas. You have a good top side, two strong solo laners. Why are Lucian Camille?
Like, these are not picks that were going to be contested, and even if they were, I don't think you minded that much.
Yeah, this.
Bit bizarre.
Yeah, especially the Lucian is bizarre. I think Camille is fine. If you want to have Camille against Aatrox, probably after LL showed a very good Aatrox game, you can anticipate he goes for Aatrox again. So Camille is the preferred counterpick for King J. I can understand that. You don't have to go Irelia. Camille is still fine. But why are you going for Lucian this early on? The Lucian pick really does not make a whole lot of sense to me.
No, I completely agree. And Easy Love. I've got a really bad habit of reading the name next to the champion, but Easy Love will fire back with the Zaya pick. He can play it this game. Last game it would have been a bit of a suicidal pick to
Thank
pick it
you,
into
thank you.
Caitlyn. And Silas is now locked in, a bit further down the draft than we would have expected, but they do get it.
Yeah, at least they didn't completely lose their minds here. Salas Camille is still a very strong early top side and should be able to stand up to Sejuani Aatrox as well. They gave
Yep.
up the
Are you
Aurelia. I
ready?
expect Aurelia banned now.
I almost think there'll be some pretty heavy support bands coming in here from
Yes,
Loki.
has already started.
Yeah, the Rakan being taken out. The Syndra as well. Not sure how I feel about that. I don't think Artifact did much in game one.
No,
He was just kind of there.
and I think Aurelia is the better pick for him. So don't really
Yep.
understand the Syndra. I really want to see Aurelia banned out on Cerberus' side. Don't think you can risk giving over the Aurelia to Artifact and then have Camille, Silas, Aurelia as the top side. That sounds very dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And Morgana, the second ban for Loki, getting rid of those supports. Not sure who that might set up like a Nautilus,
Yep,
perhaps. Yeah, or the
Nautilus and
Thresh that we
Braum are.
randomly
Yeah,
see every now and then.
that's true, that's true. Nautilus, Braum, or Thresh are the three supports we're looking at for Loki. And Cerberus probably wants to go for a little bit more of a defensive choice. Aurelia's open. I really don't understand why, but
What is the Azir ban?
I
I don't
mean,
understand.
Yada was
It's just
bad on
worse
Azir,
than
so
Aurelia,
maybe they
right?
want to force him off of Azir. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, he can play Azir if they don't let him have his dancing shoes. Just don't go for Sharima shuffles because I don't think he's hit any. Uh,
And I guess after one bad game of Aurelia play, no one wants to play Aurelia anymore.
I
For
mean,
no reason at
yeah,
all, but I
this is blowing my mind. Aurelia
especially
is not going to get all the way through draft, is she?
it seems like she's going to get unpicked.
Oh my god, VCS.
it's, this draft has been a little
My
bit of a mess.
head.
I mean, at least we don't see triple AP topside on either side, so I'm already a happy man. My what do you call it? My
You're
expectations for the
having
draft are
on.
pretty low already, but this is an interesting pick. Rice. The
I,
VCS is
I
one of
really.
the regions that have favored Rice a lot, even before the buffs came in, 9.14. So this is still 9.13 Rice. He's okay, especially in the late game. He's very strong. Rice into Corki. That's a little bit of a dicey one. I don't quite like this matchup. I think Corki will outrange the Rice and will outlane him as well. This will be a hard game to play for Artifact.
I don't like this draft at all from Loki. Uh, it seems so disjointed.
Yeah, I can see what you mean by that. Rice, the very strong late game champ, um, and then you have him cornered by or surrounded, I should say, by Lucian and the Camille and Salas. I mean, Salas scales well into the late game as well. Camille can scale well, can fall off as well. Camille is a little bit weird when it comes to scaling. Really depends on the game state. I don't like
Yeah,
the Rice pick into Corki. I think Rice overall is a fine champ to pick, but into Corki it's a little bit of a mystery to me why we would go for Rice.
yeah. I don't. The Rise pick really throws me. The fact that Irelia just got through that draft really undermines my faith in just existence. More and more every day, my theory that the Mayan calendar was actually right in 2012, and everything since then has just been a fever dream. Every time I watch more of the VCS, I'm more and more convinced that's true.
Oh, that's very harsh.
Hey, combined with the rest of the world. There's
Fair
a lot
enough.
of weird. Boris Johnson is prime minister.
Yep, yep. I think we should not touch on that because
I'm not touching on whether that's a good or a bad thing, but
I
it's
agree.
not something I ever would have thought I said a year ago.
Uh, you can
Oh
feel
my.
very good because you're far away from him, I think.
I mean, technically, the Queen is still my head of state.
Fair enough.
So, uh, yeah. Anyway, back to more important matters than politics. League of Legends. Early game, where do we think the points of pressure are? I think for Cerberus, they almost don't exist. I think it will just be a bit of a farm game out of them.
I'm so confused. I just looked at King J and what is he doing? Why is he running fleet footwork? Where fleet into Aatrox? Why would you do that? Wow, I'm very confused. I don't understand what King J is planning to do in the lane. It seems like not a whole lot, considering fleet
Why
footwork
not
is a
just go
very defensive
PTA?
choice. Yeah,
Yeah, just go PTA.
exactly. You can even go Conqueror against Aatrox. I mean, I don't like Conqueror on Camille, but it's still better than on Aatrox, so you can absolutely go Conqueror. By the way, Camille, we will not see Camille in the next patch, because there's a very big bug with Camille and has actually cost her 2 or 3% win rate.
Do
The
tell, I haven't heard about
the
this.
second queue, so you have two instances of queue, right? You have the initial queue that's an auto tech reset, and then after 1.5 seconds, you get the upgraded queue with the true damage and stuff like that.
Yep.
This iteration, so the second part of the queue, does not proc sheen effects anymore.
Ooh, that's really bad.
That's really, really bad. And I'm not sure if
I
it's
hope
gonna
that's a
be.
bug.
Yeah, it's a bug. It's a bug. It's not intended.
Okay, so it's not just meant. It's not just an unintended. It's not
No, no,
just a
no, no.
nerf.
That would be a
Unfortunately.
horrible nerf and would feel really
Oh
bad
yeah,
for
it would
Camille.
kill the. It would also just almost kill the champion.
Yeah,
And
uh,
I don't think Camille's overpowered at all.
she's strong,
I
but
think she's
with
yeah.
this particular very weird bug, she's not gonna be played in the next
Ooh,
patch. But
artifact in some trouble. Ooh, good flash there.
that was
Sees the big poro coming and just
very, very quick
yeah,
reaction.
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
impressed. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's a
was
super super
zero
impressive.
pings come to fruition there for the mid lane of Loki.
Ooh, and there's the second gank coming in, and it will be much more successful. King J picks up first blood with the help of DNK. LL goes down. We talked about how they might want to attack the power point of Cerberus, and currently there's a bit of water spilled all over that power point.
Yep. And we saw the substitution come in. They wanted to play King J because he's a better bruiser player. And the first thing they do is revisit top lane, this time with King J in the top lane. Probably a little bit more proficient. That being said, I think Harney's lane phase was still okay last game, so I don't want to throw too much shade at Harney. I think he has been a very good top laner this split. But yeah,
Yeah,
the substitution pays off, and this time DNK's first gank on Sylas is successful, so already a much better start for the Sylas.
yep, absolutely. Is that lag on the mainstream?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah. I just experienced the same lag. I was wondering if that was on my end as well, but it seems to be VCS
yeah,
once again.
always good just to check on that one. Do apologize anyway. There's very little we can do about that. Looking down at this bot lane, the lead for Celebrity he's about one wave ahead, which isn't crushing by any means to the Xayah. We do kind of expect the Lucian to get ahead just based on how strong Lucian is early.
Yep, absolutely. I think Zaya is probably able to farm out the lane most of the time, especially with Braum. So, wow, the lags are getting
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah, this is
This is a
not great.
slideshow. Great
I do
slideshow.
apologize again. Maybe I shouldn't have said that there was a PowerPoint at the top lane because it looks like we're watching a PowerPoint. One slide at a time.
Yeah, sadly correct, but it should be fine again. Looks like
Yeah,
we,
brain machines might be drawing a bit too much power.
yeah. I mean, looking at the draft,
Yeah, not
should
drawing
not
that
be an
much.
issue. The brain machines did not really get to warm up in this particular draft on either side. I think Cerberus' draft overall I like a lot more. I'm
Yeah.
personally a fan of Corki. I know a lot of people don't like Corki meta because for some reason they
I
think
mean,
it's boring, but I think Corki is very interesting to watch. Very cool to see magic crits come in.
I think I'm a little bit on the. I don't like seeing Corky every game. I don't
I
mind him
mean,
having a place in
yeah,
the meta, but when he's super dominant, it is a little bit boring.
seeing Corki,
But
seeing any champ every game is not interesting, right? Even Lee Sin can
very
be
true.
annoying if you see him any game, every game, I should say.
Yeah, that's very true. I think it's a little bit exacerbated with Corky just because he does have that kind of very slow play style. It's not hugely flashy, but as you said, there are interesting things that teams can do playing around a Corky.
I think in a
So
late game he's very hyped to watch. I agree
oh
his early game is not very interesting. The same is true for most control mages, right? I mean, we have just been treated with a lot of assassin meta, with Akali and Irelia permanently fighting in the mid lane. That can't
yeah,
be the case for a whole year, I think. I mean, we have to see some other champs as well. And right now, there are a
yeah,
lot of
exactly.
people complaining about mid lane meta,
I
but
mean, we're getting ready for Worlds, right? Corky's got to be viable. It's the World's
it's
Corky
true.
buff. It's just how it
It's true.
works.
And the Rise buffs as well. Rise is always relevant at Worlds as well. So yeah.
Exactly. Ooh, up in the top lane, King J throws himself forward. The Hextech ultimatum is used here, and DNK is here as well. LL's in a lot of trouble. The healing's pretty ridiculous, but it's not ridiculous enough. DNK claims the kill.
Well, there was
Down goes
almost
Aatrox
another
with
1v2. Aatrox is
almost.
insane.
Aatrox is pretty nutty. Ron OP gets caught by that hook, takes a fair bit of damage, but a lot of damage done back. Ooh, never mind. Ron's in a lot of
Whoa.
trouble. Oh my
What's
god,
going
he came
on?
back! Why did you come back? That was very, very silly.
Venus is super happy his last grab did not connect.
Yeah, if that had hit, he was hooking straight to death.
Absolutely. What was that fight? I think Ronopi completely lost his mind there. What? Why did he go back in? Like Easy
I
Left
don't
did
know.
everything to block for him, and Ronopi just thought, okay, calling is over. There's no kill pressure anymore. Let's go back to the front line again.
Yeah, I mean, he jumped back and to give the resistances, I guess, but
But I think
it
Easy Left
wasn't.
was
He
not in a
lost.
lot of trouble anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it was needed, and it was just giving up a kill for basically no reason.
Yeah. A little bit unfortunate. Good for Cerberus' side that the kill went over to Venus. Venus now is immediately gone for a little bit of a roaming build with the Moby boots coming in for the support Nautilus. So overall, the combat stats in the bot lane will not be a big problem, even though they gave up a kill early on. Now Venus
Yeah,
needs to make his early roaming tools work for this kill to really pay off for his team.
yeah, and they do actually have a pretty strong. Really, that's not a good time to cut away. There was a fight in the top lane. We do see this bot lane fight again. Yeah, Ron just. This is just a blunder.
Look at the flash from Celebrity.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was very close. Very good heal from
The
Easy
easy
Love.
love is safe, and then. Ugh.
I mean, even Venus's flash was a little bit troll. Like, Celebrity had an auto attack ready to kill the enemy support. That
Yeah,
was a
maybe
very
I think they
messy
were, I
2v2
think they
in the
were
bot
just
lane.
surprised. And this is a very strong three man here. Nautilus ult into Braum ult. That's a really bad time. Venus will go down in response, and they don't have the ability to go after Pot. So it's actually a 1-for-1, but a top laner for a support, you'll generally take that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
LL not looking good here.
Yeah, I really
This
like what
Aatrox
Loki
game
has
is
done
looking a
coming
little
into
bit.
this game. I think they completely read Cerberus' strategy coming into game two. They saw that LL outperformed Hani, subbed him out. I'm still not sure if they had to sub or not, but hold the
Ooh,
thought.
LL.
Wow, this looks eerily similar to a game from last week with a certain Renekton player.
Oh, we won't be seeing tonight,
Nope,
unfortunately.
nope. Obviously, I was alluding to the game from Zeros, but he's banned for tonight's game, so Yoshino back in.
Yeah. I mean, look, I said this before we started casting when me and you were chatting. I wish the circumstances were different because obviously I don't like hearing that a player's been banned because they've been a naughty boy. But more Yoshino, oh boy, can't
Yeah,
wait.
and it's Yoshino
I
against
love,
Hero, probably the two best performing top laners so far the split.
yep,
Especially if you disregard Reizo after his week 3 and week 4 performance. He was very good in the first 2 weeks, but then Hero definitely took over, and Yoshino looked like probably the best player in the VCS in week 3. He absolutely dominated everyone he was playing against. So I'm very hyped for the top lane matchup for the next series, but we're still in this one, and I say that, but look at the gold lead. This
yeah,
might be a quick one. This might be a little bit of a quick
yeah,
one.
it very possibly might be, and a little bit unfortunate. I do think, despite the fact that you can look at LL and say maybe how poorly he's been playing, I don't really think too many of these deaths are his fault.
No, he can't really do a whole lot. I mean,
No, he's like, it's not like he's been dying 1v1.
no. I think
So,
maybe a little bit of his lane positioning has been too aggressive, especially if Pot doesn't want to play around him. So he should have probably controlled the wave a little bit better, especially because he had the early advantage in the lane, the early tempo, I should say.
yeah,
But other than that, I don't think any of the dives were played poorly on his side. There was just too much CC, too much damage coming in. He couldn't really do a whole lot.
exactly. Yeah, precisely. But regardless of whose fault it is, it's going to be a very difficult hole for him to climb back out of. You can see the
Oh no.
ridiculous lead up there in the top lane. Oh, Pot does get over the wall there. Does get the ult on DNK as well. That was actually really smart from Pot. He could have just thrown the ult at the Nautilus, who he knew exactly where he was, but throwing it at DNK was much more relevant because he was actually the one that could get over the wall.
Yep.
So
By the way, look
good
at
win.
Celebrity's build. This is a new one.
Essence Reaver.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
not seen first item Essence Reaver in the VCS in any Lucian. All the Lucians go Blade into Essence Reaver.
Wait.
This is the first item Essence Reaver. Very interesting adaptation. I've seen many different Lucian builds in the last week. I think in the West we still see a lot of late into Essence Reaver. I think especially in Korea we have seen many full crit Lucians.
Yeah. I like the full crit Lucian personally. I think crit's just so strong. And this is Cerberus trying to push back here. But there is a lot of low-key members up here. The Rift Herald does get cleaned up. LL gets chunked low, but manages to walk away. They don't want to do anything under tower. It's probably a good idea.
Yep.
No need to risk your lead.
And one more plating up for grabs in the top lane. Bot lane should get another plating as well. They actually will not commit to the last plating. That's a little
Ooh,
bit interesting.
King J throwing himself forward. Will pick up Pot. Yado's on the wrong side of town now. Can they find a way onto him? Doesn't look like they want to risk it again, as they will just go for the reset after a good play there by Low-Key.
Absolutely. 3k gold lead now after platings have fallen. Very good early game for Loki. Much better than game 1. Finally
Yep.
looking like the top team they are supposed to be. If they win the series, they will be at 6-3, which means tying first place in terms of overall wins. Obviously, they have one more loss, so they will not get to first place. But it's very good, especially considering QG and Gum will be playing later on today. And Gum is, what the thought, another
Ooh,
all in.
Yano's in a bit of trouble. No ult here for the Camille, so we can't lock him down, but it's not going to matter.
Wow.
Absolutely bisected.
That's a Camille chasing down a Corki with Flash. That's a surprising sight. And that's a
That is
4-0 Camille. King J with his first game all season. I'm not actually sure if he was just not played or if anything happened to him. I'll have to double check after the game. But yeah,
but he's
King J looking very
good.
good.
Ooh, Celebrity caught up here into the double glacial passive. Really good team fight tactics on the current patch. Venus will be going down as well. Not a good time. That's
Nope.
a good little fight back from Cerberus. So
Yeah, they have to look for a place on the other side of the map. Avoid King J at all costs, because he's probably worth 2 or 3 members right now. Look at the gold in the top lane. It's almost 3k as a single lead for a single player. So we are looking at Zero's level of leads. CS is
yeah,
actually pretty close, so LL has been able to at least CS but that's probably one of the reasons he has died so much, because he's still going for CS.
yeah, and that is Pot going down as well, fighting too hard over a Cloud Drake. As both of the players here do have Aatrox ult active. TNK still has it running. Can be a little bit hard to see, but
I hate Aatrox ult on Silas.
it looks so silly.
Yeah, it looks really silly, and it doesn't really do a whole lot. It's a very weird ult to steal.
Yeah, I mean the speed boost is nice. That's
I'm
basically
not
all it
sure
does.
if he heals from AP from the Aatrox ult. I need to
I
check that.
think.
I don't think
Doesn't he
so.
get? Don't all AD ratios when Silas steal them convert into AP?
Yeah, all the defensive ones as well. I thought it's.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Are there defensive AD ratios in the game?
I mean, maybe.
Riven Shield is a defensive AD
Yeah.
ratio.
Yeah,
That's not
Riven.
on the ult. I'm actually not sure how Aatrox ult works exactly. I think he has a flat amount of healing, right? It's 40, 40, 55, and 70%, if I'm correct.
I think that's
And yeah, I'm not sure if it's
Silas.
only AD
Silas would
healing or
definitely
all
get
the
that.
healing. Need to check that.
Yeah,
Maybe chat can
it
help.
would. Yeah,
If you
maybe. If anyone knows, please do let us know. But regardless of whether or not he gets the healing, it's still not the best ult to take.
no.
But it was the correct one in that scenario.
Yeah, and Loki has slowed down the game a little bit. It's 5k on the gold lead side. They can look for. What are they actually looking at? I think they just want to isolate King J as much as possible. Artifact is still not really a champ. He still needs a few more items to do a lot in this game. So you see a
Ooh, here
play.
comes the engage. Yardo packages us forward onto DNK, but they're going straight into King J's domain, and that means they just have to turn around. You
Yeah,
can't enter this man's kingdom.
it's very correct. And in the meantime, down bottom, Rise is pushing down
Yep.
a turret. So Loki still
Yeah, he'll
overall
take a
win
little.
in terms of map positioning. It's a Rise, so this will
Absolutely.
take a little bit of time. It's not the Camille in the side lane. Look at the Rise
He
damage.
looks so. He's really struggling. He's just throwing those little tiny bolts of magic out of his hand
Do you
at
remember
the
the
big
times where
tower.
Rise was building full mana, full defensive, and did
Just
absolutely
couldn't take
nothing to
it.
turrets because he had no AP?
Literally. Yeah, just literally could not take
No,
towers.
he was the worst sieging champ in the game. He was atrocious at sieging. It was insane. He was absolutely useless. I mean, he was still a
Oh
super
man.
strong champ, but
Yeah. Ooh, Venus a little bit caught out there, but good heal from Celebrity. Make sure his support stays safe.
and that has to be very tilting. They
Yeah,
tried
I'm.
another play with outnumbering the enemies, and once again they couldn't convert it to a kill.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
this has
is.
to feel bad for Cerberus.
Yeah, this is super rough for them, and there's just so few paths back into this game. They're going for these plays, which I mean, I'm happy to see them not just roll over and die, but it's just not working, and that's super unfortunate.
Yeah,
And
it's a
how
little
do
bit
you
sad
stop
to see.
King?
How do you stop King J? I don't really think you can stop him. Wow, wow, the
Ooh,
slideshow is continuing.
yeah, I feel like I should be in a suit with like a little pointer stick,
Yeah.
telling people why Cerberus stocks are good to invest in. But King J has come forward, picks up Pot, and the Realm Warp arrives as well. Down goes Easy Love right after. This could be the beginning of
Venus.
the end.
Venus just forgot the mid lane turret was still standing. We just wanted to
Yeah.
stroll back to mid lane and then remembered, oh, there's a turret, in fact. Okay,
Oh,
we'll have to get
probably
rid
should
of
have
that
said that.
one.
Yep, that they will, but they'll go under it first. Ron is the one caught up, but oh my god!
A lot of damage.
Oh, but shut down though. That's 1,000 gold back, and oh my lord,
Yeah, I think your
earning.
presentation of Cerberus stocks is not going too well, I have to say.
Yeah, earnings projections are down. Uh, this is a bad time. A lot of red graphs. Oh, celebrity. It's
I
not
mean,
what you want to
at
see.
least they got a little bit back there, made a good final investment into killing King J. And they got the shutdown on one of the most valuable members, at least, in the Corki. Corki now on 2 items, so it's not the typical 31-minute power spike Corki. It's in fact 10 minutes earlier, so that's a good look for Yado.
Yeah, it is. That is good to see out of him. The question is it going to matter in this game? Can he potentially put together enough pressure to break back into this?
Yeah, if you look at
Unlikely.
scaling, do we like something about services comp? I think, well, the scaling is very strong. If we hit 50k on both sides, while Loki's only ahead by 5k, 4k, maybe Cerberus still has a chance. They need more gold. They need at least one more item on all their big carries. We need IE on both ADCs. If we get to that point, maybe there's still a little bit the Cerberus can do. Right now, it's heavily in favor of Loki.
Yeah, that it absolutely is. And I mean, one thing to point out is like obviously we do have the hyper scaling of the Corki, but that is somewhat answered back by the Rise.
Yep.
So it's not like Cerberus definitely does have the better scaling, but it's not ridiculous. So they
That
are
being
really
said,
gonna have to
yeah,
get their jobs together.
I agree in theory that Rice kind of scales equally well, maybe even better. But against Corki in particular in the matchup and against this particular team comp, I think Rice will have a very hard time team fighting, especially with this very squishy build. Rice
It's
struggles a
true.
lot from
One,
range
speaking
problems.
of struggling for Rise, he's gonna die.
Yep,
Uh, did his
that he
best,
will.
but it's traded across the map as LL takes his fifth death of the game.
But he's not
Not looking
worth a
great.
whole lot, so it's still trade up for Cerberus, especially as they are able to defend the turret now.
Yep. Cerberus is stabilizing a little bit. There's not a lot of blood left in them, but they aren't bleeding quite as badly anymore.
Yeah, it's still 7k, and now Loki with the brute force on the inhibited turret. This is
I
a little bit
actually get
dangerous
it.
for them.
Yeah, that it is. And on the side there was a decent ult out of Ron. That whole lane was completely cut off. DK nearly goes down here. This could be the fight that changes things as one is already down. Make it two. 600 gold shutdown. Low-key, really not sure why they aren't trying to play around.
Yeah, and we thought this one would be a little bit of a shorter one, but it might actually not be, because Cerberus with good plays, good awareness, and Loki with a lot of overextension. Cerberus closed the gold gap a little bit, and now it's back to only 5k. I thought at 50k for both teams, we might see a little bit more of an even game again,
This
and
could be
now
bad.
we're a little bit closer to that goal.
Yeah, and Cerberus is on Baron,
Oh no.
burning it down pretty quickly here, but the contest is coming in. King J's here. Baron's secured for Cerberus, but how many of them can get out alive? And they sorry, let me just change that up. How many of Loki can get out alive?
Well, Loki has
As
completely thrown away the game. Look at the gold, it's
this is
almost back to even. Cerberus' team comp
Loki.
is finally
This is
alive.
atrocious.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh,
So
Loki.
disappointing.
What happened to Loki in the last 2 weeks? It's really confusing. I think they're falling off a lot in terms of overall strength. They might
Yeah,
still
I
be
mean they
able
drove
to
off,
eke out the victory
right?
here, but after this strong and early game, they should have already closed the game, or should at
This
least.
shouldn't have been close.
No, definitely not.
And this is going to be a tower going down as well for Cerberus. They're second. I mean, only 4 towers have fallen for Loki.
Yeah, it was in the kills and the platings their big
Yeah,
advantage,
exactly.
and now with Baron, kind of equalizing a lot of that early gold advantage. It's actually not that big anymore. CS, LL is still competitive in CS, even though you got absolutely wrecked on the side lane, indicating that King J's side lane play, but hold that thought.
Ooh, here comes the realm walk forward, but DNK just gets absolutely destroyed as soon as he comes out of it. The jungler is dead. Ron P goes low and does go down, but it's traded for the Rise. Cerberus is looking like they might win this game. King
Oh
J
no, King J.
re-engages, but doesn't even get into the revive. He's going to go down here. Yado is fully online. This is going to be a 6-1 Corki
Oh,
once he cleans up King J, which he actually might not. So he's just going to be 5-1. This is really, really bad out of Loki. This
yeah,
is
we saw
horrific.
King J has not built items to teamfight. This is why I thought talked about the scaling of Camille being a little bit hard to read sometimes, because her team fighting is not the greatest. It's not the worst. If you look at Bruises, her split pushing can be very strong. Her side laning is super
Ooh,
strong.
LL's caught here. Could potentially go down,
Should
but
go down definitely.
does get the tower though.
Yep.
So
At
it's
least a
not
little
that
bit of
unhappy.
gold collected for him, but he delays the Baron push. So now Loki at least has not lost an inhibitor, but look at the gold. It's back to dead even. Once Yado goes back to base, he will be able to finish his third or second crit item, I should say. Trinity, in fact, does not have crit anymore.
Yeah.
This Corki will be a problem. Level 16, very strong.
Yep. Absolutely. And yeah, and he's not going to be matched by the Rise either. Rise is 3,000 gold behind, and as you very correctly pointed out, Rise is going to struggle to actually team fight into a Corki, even though if statistically they can deal similar amounts of damage in the late game, Rise is it's going to be much harder for Rise to actually do it.
Yeah. We saw almost the perfect team fight for Ryze, in fact, in the jungle there. He was not level 16 yet, so his damage potential was not fully unlocked. There were still 30% on the crit damage missing. But he got, I think, 2 crit Qs on multiple members, and they still lost the fight. Mostly because King J is actually very useless in fights. He's sitting at a 7-2 score, but look at his items. He's built fully for split pushing, and finally Loki has recognized what their top laner has built in this game.
Yep.
Ooh, LS Portrait. Ooh, this might be very dangerous for Cerberus.
It's potentially a bit of a base race. One inhib does go down now. They need to get away. Ron P gets hooked. That Nautilus ult's actually going to knock up a few of them as well. Really bad spreading there from Yado. But it might not matter in the end. Celebrity charges forward, but the blast cone is good. 1 inhibitor each. As
Yeah,
King J
very
did
good.
pick one up, but he's collapsing in to potentially try and turn this into a fight.
Oh no, Cerberus might have just
This
lost the
isn't
game.
over.
Oh no.
Cerberus may have just lost the game. Can they Mission Impossible their way out? I don't think so. They've been
But
exposed.
LL is here
Can
as
they
well.
potentially do something? Yado is just going to clean up King J. He's reviving in the back line.
Oh, never mind.
We say apparently Loki doesn't know how to team fight, so Cerberus lives to fight another day. And this is going to be low-key aced in a situation where they should have been doing
Oh
the
no,
acing.
artifact, artifact. Oh no.
No,
Okay.
no.
What
That
a team
was
fight.
King J played that about as poorly. I would have played that better than King J, and I'm not.
I have to agree. That was a
I'm not good.
very, very poorly executed team fight on King J's side. Like,
Yeah,
he's not
that
tanky.
was.
Please don't jump into the backline alone. He just got
Yeah.
blown up in a matter of seconds. Now, it wasn't even seconds, it was 1 second, probably.
And he didn't do anything. He
No.
didn't really pressure Yado or anything. Yado didn't even flash.
No, you should not try to go for the backline alone. He's not an assassin. He doesn't have the damage to insta-kill Yado. Look at this again. Very good
Yeah.
exhaust, I have to say, as well. Ronopi with a good adaptation, going for the exhaust with his spellbook. So,
Yeah.
really like
This
that
is
one.
such a disjointed fight. I mean,
What's Celebrity doing here? He tried to be the hero. Actually, very unfortunate from... No, not unfortunate. I guess it's a misplay, because Corki mistimes his rockets. Was not able to insta-kill the Lucian after the Zonias came in, or the stopwatch, I should say. So, a little bit of a shutdown over to Celebrity. Hugh is looking very strong as well. Look at his items. and Rise is at level 16. So there's still a world where in which Loki wins team fights. It's way
Yeah, but
easier
it's
to
it's
execute
so
on Cerberus'
difficult.
side. Yeah.
Absolutely, and Cerberus is actually now ahead in gold. It's not by much, but considering how far behind they were, Venus getting caught out there. Good Sejuani ult as well, locks up Celebrity. Venus does go down. King J as well. Just he shouldn't even be in team fights.
But look at the Rise
Zaya does
damage.
go down. Yep, Rise is still a threat. Artifact Realm Warps into the back. DK flashing forward here, tries to get pot and does. This could be the turn here for LK. This is one of the most ridiculous games. This is a true game of throws, as it
Yep.
seems like neither team really want to win. What is happening?
Now they have to deal with the super minion spot, and mid lane super minions will annoy Loki in just about a minute, or a little bit less than a minute. But I guess their
Yep.
Baron with the Rise and Lucian damage is fast enough to get back to base in time. So now Loki turn around the game once again. The game is still absolutely on knife's edge. We don't have no idea who's going to win this game. I still give the overall advantage over to Cerberus, I think. We talked about their team fighting being easier to execute.
God, Celebrity dash over walls. That's like the fourth time you've been spotted on the spectate, just failing to E over walls. It's not hard, man. Come on.
Okay, look at this one again. Starts out with a Silas ult on Cedric. He's actually level 15, so this is his only Silas ult in this team fight.
Yep. Locks up pot, but doesn't really
Why?
matter.
Yeah, look at the Rise damage. I would like to see a chart of Rise damage in this fight. The first Q already dealt like 4k damage here, and look at this one.
Yeah.
670 on Yado, 400 on the support. Rise is online. Rise is super strong. They need to play better on the Rise. I think they completely misread how they had to approach team fights. They have to tank Rise with Sejuani and try to outrange him with their AD carries, not go toe to toe. Look at the Rise. Look
Oh,
at the
it's so insane.
crits.
But it is one kill already picked up here for
Oh
Cerberus,
my
and it's not going
god.
to matter though, as Artifact is doing so much damage, so is King J. This should be the end here. I don't think even Loki could throw from this
Oh.
position. I'm sure they'll try their hardest, but
Or
this
maybe
should be
Rise is
ugly.
actually easier to execute in teamfights now. I have to say, after seeing this game, maybe it was just Cerberus playing very poorly against Rise, but wow. Rise looks unbeatable in late game teamfights. Like, he just has to press EQ and the whole enemy team is
Yeah,
gone. That was some ridiculous teamfight damage. And after a
it
very
was.
back and forth game, the game just ends with, yeah, I mean, it just ends. Not a whole lot to say.
Yep, this is how the world ends, not with a bang, but with a whimper. And it certainly just ended.
Yeah, not a very convincing game from Loki. After getting 2 out in the last week, we had a little bit of concern for them coming into the series. At least they won against Cerberus. That's the most important part. And 2-0 as well. But it didn't look great. I think Loki is falling off quite heavily. And right now, I might actually say they might fall off, out of play of contention if they play
If
like
they play
this
like
against the
that,
top teams.
yeah, absolutely. If they play like that against top teams, they'll get absolutely bodied. Um, that was that was awful. It was so bad out of Loki. I mean, Cerberus wasn't much better, but we don't expect much from Cerberus as they are a bottom team. This was a very disappointing series overall. It was fun, but not what you want to see
A
out
lot
of
of
your
kills
league.
in the last game. That was a little bit of a mess.
Yep.
And we saw Corky losing, so all the Corky haters can be happy. Um, Corky, in fact, hit his late game stage, but was kind of obliterated by the Rise anyway, because late game Rise seems to be a little bit ridiculous.
Just a bit.
I mean, we have now seen, I think, 3 or 4 pop-off Rise late game games, and I have to say, doesn't really look like there's a lot the enemy team can do to prevent the Rise from absolutely murdering everyone in the late game teamfights. It looks a little bit like the Season 2 Rise with the ult still Like that was the old with the AOE spell effect, right? The
Yeah,
AOE.
that's the original one where he
Yeah,
got spell
I
vamp.
think he now looks a little bit like that Rise again, especially on level
Yep,
16.
the real smash the forehead into the keyboard. Uh, this is it's I think it's hard to really analyze too deeply into that second game there, just because
Too much happened in the game.
yeah, too much happened, and both teams really just wanted to lose a little bit.
Yeah, I think Loki wanted to play another game. It definitely looked like they wanted to, because wow, that was not the greatest game Loki has ever played. Especially after in the first round robin they were able to perfect game the enemy team. Today they struggle a lot to
Yep,
even win against Cerberus. So Loki on the downward trend. I'll have to check the schedule to see which other team they play this week.
I'm not sure.
It's FTV, so they actually have the easiest week possible. But I'd say if they play like this against FTV and Rika or the coaches of FTV pick the best champ for Rika,
Maybe.
then there might be a chance for FTV. FTV won against DBL, so I think with today's performance, FTV has a chance against Loki on Saturday.
Yeah, it's possible.
This is a
We
recovery
have to
week
see
for
how.
Loki, definitely. It's
Yeah,
against Cerberus on FTV. If they have to win both series and they have to use their time to get back on track to enter the last 2 weeks, probably a little bit from ahead if you look at the game score, and then try to at least win one more series in the last three to secure playoffs.
yeah. So have to see how that goes. Do we? How do we decide an MVP? Uh,
I think it has to be Artifact. I mean, King J
has
had
to
a
be
great
right.
early game, but he threw a lot in the later stages of the game.
Yeah,
DNK is another contender in my opinion. He had a good early game as well. But in the end, the game didn't really end with the early game advantage. So I don't think you can really give it over to someone who got a lead in the early game if the team is not able to execute on the early game.
yeah, I agree with that.
So
Yeah, I think Artifact's really the only choice.
Artifact getting his first MVP since week 2 on our stream here. He was the front runner for MVP points, locking down 4 MVPs in the first 2 weeks, and now he got his fifth, so he's now tying Hero and Zorn and Yijin on 5 MVPs for first.
Yeah. Gonna have to see how. I'm struggling to see how Loki really bounced back. They just obviously we are talking so negatively of them after they do 2-0 a series, so I mean it could have gone a lot worse. But overall, just this is not what you want to see out of them by any means.
Yeah, they have to use the time. They have a very weak opponent. King J gets the MVP. I really don't agree with this.
Yeah.
He had good stats, but his play was not good in the later stages of the game. So I really don't agree with giving over King J the MP only for securing early game kills when all the attention was centered around his lane. And he actually did nothing with the lead. He threw away a lot of the advantage. Really
Yeah.
don't understand the MVP here, but whatever. King J, first game on stage, gets the MVP on the official broadcast. Nice for him. I don't think it's warranted.
Yep.
Now we'll hit a
I
break, about 1 hour and 10 minutes, I think, and then we'll hit the much more interesting series. Hopefully, it's GAM against QG. It's a playoff race. GAM is sitting at 5-3, QG at 4-4. First series went over to QG, interestingly enough, and GAM needs the head-to-head, so it's a very important win for GAM. If they can lock that one down, playoffs looks very easy to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be a bit of a long break because it wasn't a particularly long series. So, see you in just over an hour.
Yep, thank you for joining us, and see you for the next series in 70 minutes.